particular position for District 2, and I know that he got 119 of those, which is 95% of the vote. But all I know right now is what I've shared with you. Yes, sir.
This is more of a legal question. And please, if I'm wrong, somebody remind me. When the lawsuit that Ms. Dancy brought was dismissed, was it not dismissed with prejudice? On a lawsuit dismissed with prejudice, can you not bring that lawsuit back? TJ?
I don't know the answer to that question.
You cannot bring it back if it's with prejudice. It's without. I can't remember which way it was.
Any other questions from the media? Yes, sir.
Secretary Mayor, if Mr. Newsom is removed, what's the, not the process, but would the challenger be considered for that position?
Well, there's a prescribed mechanism in place in each and every municipality throughout the state of Alabama that would determine how a vacancy is filled. And that prescription is already in place for the city of Dothan. And I don't know exactly what that is here, Mayor. You may want to speak to that if that occurs.
It's the same process we've used before. What we'll do is appoint somebody, and then there will be an election within, I believe it's 60 or 90 days. 90 days. So she'll have to decide if she wants to run again. That's really the decision. And she may want to be appointed. In the past 6 years, the folks I have appointed, I've asked not to run. So you don't use your seat as part of the election. And I would continue doing that same process.
Thank you, Mayor.
Secretary Merrill, it sounds like what you're saying is minus an indictment conviction, which could lead to removal, and minus a voluntary resignation, there really is no other alternative to remove from office.
No, there's not. And as you know, there are a number of people around the state, I don't know many of them in Wiregrass, not many of them have been introduced to me, who are not pleased with the way things are going in Montgomery right now, in a lot of instances. There's a lot of people that hold certain offices. And I think if some of those provisions were in place, like you just mentioned, there might be some people who would be recalled. There might be an activity that would involve people becoming more eager to find a way to have those people removed. But there's not today. And if there were, it had to be passed by the legislature.
Just to be clear, if Mr. Newsom were to resign, your investigation would continue regardless?
Yes, sir. Until we know that we've done everything that we need to do to ensure that the faith and the confidence of the people in the city of Dothan has been properly restored to this process. Because my goal for these folks and for all of you is that in 2017, when you have the next municipal elections in this community, that you have a higher voter turnout than you've ever had. Because that shows that civic participation has improved and increased. That's my goal. The only way to do that is to make sure that people have confidence in the process.
You've mentioned that you might introduce a package of bills in the legislature in 2016. That would be too late for this instance, but would you consider a recall provision in any bills that you may introduce?
That's not a part of our projected package as of today. We had 8 bills that we passed in the regular session of the 2015 regular session, which was the most aggressive package that has been passed since Glenn Browder was Secretary of State in 1988, when they did a complete restructuring of the Fair Campaign Practice Act in 1988. There are certain things we want to give attention to. Recall is not one of them at this time. I'm not so sure that there won't be some members of the legislature who might bring some legislation concerning that, concerning recall, concerning an initiative, referendums in particular, because of some of the conversations that have occurred throughout the state in other areas. That's not a part of our package as of today. Any other questions from the media? Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for coming down.
Yes, sir. Let me say this about that before you continue with your question. I don't want anybody in here to be confused, okay? I work for you. I work for everybody in this room. and I work for all 4.8 million people in the state of Alabama. And this is my job, working for you to make sure that I'm doing what you expect me to do. So thank you for telling me that you appreciate me doing my job.
Chip and Dale here. I wanted to make sure I was clear on something and get your take on it. Back at the time of this election, when the candidate who lost wanted to address what she felt like were some improprieties and go through a recount, and if I'm understanding correctly, the onus of the cost of that recount would be on that candidate.
That's correct, because there's no prescribed method for a recount in a municipal election. We had 2 mayors that were elected in this state in recent municipal elections that were elected by 1 vote, but there's no provision for recount.
Well, I guess really this is more of a comment than a
Yes, sir.
question. To me, that hardly seems fair, particularly if there's, obviously at the time, the absentee ballots looked extraordinarily lopsided. As things played out, we have come to find out why. It would seem to me that there should be a better way.
Let me say this about that, since you introduced it. That is one of the things in the legislative package that we're considering in 2016, is the provision that would involve a recount at the municipal level. Not because of what you just introduced, but because of what I shared with you, which is the fact that we've had 2 mayors elected in municipalities by 1 vote each. But you still have got to have a way to pay for that. A lot of times people say, well, we need to do this or we need to do that, but they don't want to pay for it. Well, somebody's going to have to pay. It's either going to be the candidate in the process, it could be the party, it could be the municipality. There's a number of ways that it could be paid for, but you have to understand why you're proceeding, who is going to be responsible for paying for it. But that is one of the things that we have to do. Ken Smith and the league, the members of the league, of which your commission are a part, that will be something that they will have to take up as to whether or not it's something that they would like us to pursue. We have not had meaningful conversations about that before. Have not received a lot of support about that before, but I'm not saying that it's something that they would oppose, or even if they did, that we would still choose to advance.
Thanks.
Yes, sir? Yes, sir.
Sometimes state law is hard to interpret, so I may be looking at this wrong, but section 1144-130 of the state code talks about requesting resignation of the commissioner. The citizens could do that with a percentage of the qualified electors. Is that applicable to this situation?
I don't know why it wouldn't be. It's already in the code and it hadn't been changed since the site that you mentioned. But I'm not prepared to speak to that any farther than that.
Secretary, if more than 14, I'm very simplistic about it, if more than 14 votes on this count have been invalidated,
Yes, sir.
which apparently they have been, then wouldn't a logical extension of that be that there was an error made? And if that logic would hold true, who would be responsible for correcting that count? Just correcting the count, which obviously...
That is an outstanding question, and it's one that we're exploring, because you would assume that, given the situation and given the occurrences that we've had with the indictments, with the convictions of the principals that have been involved to date, that would be the next logical step. The only thing that I have to make sure that you understand is that is a step. And so you have to continue to follow the steps. You can't go from A to D. You also have to do B and C to get to D and then to E and on through the rest of the alphabet. But that is something that we're looking at and that we intend to continue to pursue, to see if, because it appears to be the next logical step, it's the one that needs to be taken. there may be another one in there in that particular process that also has to be evaluated before you advance to the next position.